I don't know, I figured it would be like, okay, lesson one, get a detachable storage disk. Lesson two, write somewhere that you're gonna keep it for 5 years or something. Lesson three, get rid of it. Like, I don't know. I didn't think it was so involved. Like, I didn't know there was a data management plan.
That's really been something that we're seeing evolve. It's based on a funding requirement, but people are just like building like 50-page documents, data management plans as like just processes for their work as a team so that they can use it as onboarding and everyone gets on the same page.
This process has helped us a lot to be on the same page in many ways, in terms of, oh, okay, we're doing Google Drive, or we're doing OneDrive, that alone, or we're naming things in this way and that way. RAs will be able to have access to all of it, or maybe some of it. Like, having those decisions made has been useful, and I think it's important to really credit it to the Data Champions Initiative, because I think Phil has driven a lot of this. He kept coming back, asking me questions. So how do you do this? Like, I don't know, let's go ask that team, right? And he comes back, it's like, oh, so we're going to be able to do this. They have this README file. How do I approach it? It's like, well, let's have a meeting.
As a group, like we had to think about, what's going to happen to our data, right? Where are we going to store our data? We also had to think about what kind of data are we collecting, right? So just thinking about that before the research starts has been very helpful and been useful to make sure that, we're able to follow through.
The data management plan, when we were working on it as a team, I think it probably was one of the most straightforward ones, because it was like, oh, these are all the different datas we have, or like data sets we have. Okay, this is how we're going to incorporate it. Okay, this is how we're going to store it. And it wasn't too much.
Putting too much down at the beginning feels almost like a betrayal of the journey and the process. And I think I had to get over that.
Well, and like holding on to the fact that it's not set in stone either, that a data management plan shouldn't make you manage data any differently than you are. It's just like writing it out so that you can see the whole process.
When you make your plan, and then by the time you actually go to use it, you have all these different iterations, and you're like, okay, I think I'll have trouble following all the steps that I laid out in the plan of like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do this. And it's like, okay, I might like hit close to those, but I don't know if I'm gonna, like, I think in one of them, I had a very specific naming structure. And I'm like, am I gonna use that specific one? Maybe not, but I'll at least like try and come up with a naming structure that I think I'll actually use.
I was able to do it, pretty extensively alone. I think, I went through it like pretty quickly, and then and largely because Sarah already either had written something on the website about our data management process, and we had some of this kind of information already in the README file, so we already kind of had a process of, how to access things, how are we submitting requests, where are things going. And I think the largest component that we had to discuss was maybe like the last bit, like the last half. So what are you doing with it? Do you want to, upload this data to a repository? What would you do if you have to leave the project? Those were kind of the conversations that we had to have. But I think a lot of the, first half of the DMP was pretty easy sailing.
You really had to think through a lot of what you were going to do, which I think really helps with the legacy pieces for like ongoing.
The part that I would have struggled, or I struggled most with, was just having to talk about or think about how data will be shared. Because of the kind of projects that we tend to work on, working with community partners and their administrative data, they are not really things that we have the right to just share. And so if we're talking about research being reproducible or replicable, like we can replicate it ourselves, but I don't know how well other people would be able to use that data. And so like that's the only piece that I really was thinking about. Everything else was really good.
I think it helped me think about our project as a whole, because we do pictures, we have articles that we're using for discourse analysis, And so it really makes you think about data as more than just like the audio recording, which I think I was guilty of before. I didn't really see the spectrum of data that we were collecting. So writing those data management plans helped me see like way more than I thought about it before. And then the website that they have that was shared with us with the sample ones, that was really helpful too.
Oh, the DMP assistant?
Yeah,
Yeah.
super helpful.
I think it's just having to think about all the possible pitfalls that could go on along the road, like all the possible problems that we could have as we're doing research. And I think the DMP assistant helps you to think about that a lot.
Well, I like the DMP assistant. I feel like it's kind of like an ethics portal, but it's, I don't know, like, it doesn't feel as overwhelming because there's a bunch of different tabs, but really there's only one where the questions are.
Honestly, the DMP assistant is a great tool to use to create a data management plan because it asks you the right questions. It makes you think about the things that you're supposed to think when it comes to like the research process. Because if you're looking at it, if you sit down to try to write a data management plan yourself, without that tool, you kind of be lost. You'll be lost on like what questions to, what are the things you should think about, what should be included in there. But that has already streamlined things, makes things easier for you to think about. And so yeah, like I would say like the whole process has been really smooth for the most part, just thinking about questions of sharing data.
This series is brought to you by Spark, a Center for Social Research Innovation.